turn to the second chapter of Matthew's Gospel. And I know we say that every Sunday, some of you actually do. But this is important, because you have some surprises awaiting you in the second chapter of Matthew. So let's turn to that second chapter of Matthew. It's on page 1497 in our Bible. Listen carefully. There's some surprises in store. After Jesus was born in Bethlehem in Judea, during the time of Herod the king, Magi came to the east from the east to Jerusalem and asked, "Where is the one who has been born King of the Jews? We saw his star in the east. We've come to worship him." When Herod heard this, he was disturbed, and all Jerusalem with him. When he had called together all of the chief priests and teachers of the law, he asked them, "Where's the Christ who's to be born?" And they said, "In Bethlehem of Judea," they replied. "Well, this is what the prophet has written. Behold, you, Bethlehem in the land of Judah, are by no means least among the rulers of Judah. For out of you will come a ruler who will be the shepherd of my people Israel." Then Herod called the Magi secretly and found out from them at the exact time the star had appeared. And he sent them to Bethlehem. And he said, "Go and make a careful search for the child. As soon as you find him, report to me, so that I may, too, go and worship him." After they had heard the king, they went on their way. And the star they had seen in the east went ahead of them until it stopped over the place where the child was. And when they saw the star, they were overjoyed. On coming to the house, they saw the child and his mother Mary, and they bowed down and worshipped him. Then they opened their treasures and presented him with gifts of gold and of incense and of myrrh. Having been warned in a dream not to go back to Herod, they returned to their country by another route. When they had gone, an angel of the Lord appeared to Joseph in a dream. "Get up," he said. "Take the child and his mother and escape to Egypt. Stay there until I tell you, for Herod is going to search for the child to kill him." So he got up, took the child and his mother during the night, and left for Egypt, where he stayed until the death of Herod. And so was fulfilled what the Lord had said through the prophet, "Out of Egypt I called my son." When Herod realized that he had been outwitted by the Magi, he was furious. And he gave orders to kill all the boys in Bethlehem and its vicinity who were 2 years old and under, in accordance with the time he had learned from the Magi. Then what was said through the prophet Jeremiah was fulfilled. "A voice is heard in Ramah, weeping in great mourning, Rachel weeping for her children and refusing to be comforted, because they are no more." After Herod died, an angel of the Lord appeared in a dream to Joseph in Egypt and said, "Get up and take the child and his mother and go to the land of Israel. For those who were trying to take the child's life are dead." So he got up, took the child and his mother and went to the land of Israel. But when he heard that Archelaus was reigning in Judea in place of his father Herod, he was afraid to go there. Having been warned in a dream, he withdrew to the district of Galilee, and he went and lived in a town called Nazareth. So was fulfilled what was said through the prophets, "He will be called a Nazarene." The word of the Lord.
Thanks be to God.
Let us pray. O Lord, may the words of my mouth and the meditations of our hearts be acceptable in your sight, O Lord, our strength and our Redeemer. Amen. Now, the heading in our bulletin declares that this Sunday is Epiphany Sunday. Now, Epiphany is a fancy word that means appeared, and it marks the legendary date on which the kings and wise men met Jesus, worshipped him, and presented him their gifts. Who were these men? They were astrologers, in a day when astrology was widely respected as a science. It was believed that the position of the stars and moon and sun all told us what was in store for each one of us, for men and for nations. And the very best astrologers in any country were brought into the king's court so they could advise him as he made his decisions. So a king in the Middle East, in one of the nations that is so prominent in the news today, was approached by these excited astrologers. They said, "We've seen this amazing star. It's more brilliant than any we've ever seen. And more than that, the meaning of that star is the fact that a King of Kings has been born." Well, to their amazement, the king said, "Go and worship him and give him these gifts," which was a wise political move. And so they were guided by what we today would call the heavenly GPS, right? About that star. And they followed it, and it guided them as it moved along. And their journey became a long one, even though they made it on horseback. Horses were the means of conveyance for those in authority and power. Camels and donkeys for the ordinary people. Go tell Hallmark that. How many of them were there? These advisors of the king who represented him and went to see this new child. We don't know. We just sang, "We three kings." Now, my Scottish grandfather said, "You know, Georgie, I could have had just one king. He could have carried all the gifts himself, and they'd saved money on the travel expenses." Well, that's maybe true. We know there are at least two, because they're referred to as they. But no matter how many there were, the star led them to Israel. And where did they go? Herod's palace. Why? Because kings are born in palaces. So they show up at a palace and say, "We're here to find the King of Kings." And Herod said, "Why?" He had no idea. He was stunned, too, to find out that he was king, but there was a King of Kings. And no wonder he was troubled. He was afraid that he would be usurped. And so he called his own advisors and said, "Tell me what you find. What do you think about all this?" He said, "Well, according to the scriptures in Micah, the prophet, it says the Messiah is going to be born in Bethlehem." He said to the wise men, slyly by the way, "Go to Bethlehem, and when you found him, bring me back word about his location, because I'd like to worship him too." Not so. So as you guessed, he wanted all the soldiers to go and murder that child. What we don't know, and I'll never understand, why at that moment, when he learned about the birth of the child in Bethlehem, he didn't send his soldiers those 6 miles to Bethlehem right then and there. But he didn't. He delayed it. We don't know why. Well, off went the wise men. They followed the star. And you found in our New Testament lesson, they found the child, not in a manger, but in a house. How come? Well, you remember, the reason that Joseph and Mary went to Bethlehem is because there was a census on it. Everyone who was born in Bethlehem had to go back there and register for the census. So that's why we're there. So all their relatives from all over the place, all over Israel, showed up and crammed into the houses of those relatives who already lived in Bethlehem. But now they'd registered, and they were on their way home. And now there was plenty of room for Mary, Joseph, and the child. So that's where they went. And so they found him and had presented their gifts, very expensive gifts. Gold is still very expensive. Frankincense is incense used in worship. And myrrh. Myrrh and frankincense, by the way, came all the way from India, where it's found in the bark of a particular tree. And myrrh was brought too. And myrrh was used for embalming. They didn't realize the symbolism of what their gifts were. The gold for a king. The frankincense for the one who would bring men and God closer together as a priesthood with incense. And myrrh, speaking of his death for us, his embalming, is being placed in the tomb and is being raised from the dead. Well, but having detected Herod's evil intentions and having been told in a dream they were about to leave, and so they went off. But the king had decided he was going to get rid of this child. And so to make sure that he covered the calendar properly, he had an edict. He had all his soldiers go down and kill all the baby boys under 2 years of age, just to make sure that one of them was Jesus. But Joseph had a dream too. In so many words, God said, get out of here. He's coming after you. Go to Egypt. It's going to be safe there. Now that's how you want to come back. So he went to Egypt, and probably in Egypt plied his trade as a carpenter to earn a living. And so that eventually did come, that dream. It said, you go back to Egypt, go back to Israel, because Herod has died. Sounds like good news. But the fact is, it wasn't good news entirely. Because Joseph knew that Archelaus, the son of Herod, was no better than his dad. And he was going to carry out his orders too, to get this king. And so, what happened? We went back to Israel, but not to Judea, where Jerusalem was, or Bethlehem, but all the way up north to Galilee, a place called Nazareth. In the meantime, what happened to the kings? They were canny. They said, we're not going back to Herod and have an audience with him. We're going back by another route. Our safety is important too. Well, so that's the story, but it doesn't entirely agree with the legends we've grown up with, or even the impressions, and certainly not many of the greeting cards. So what do we learn from these star followers? Well, first of all, we're to be drawn to that star in our excitement of God's gift of a Savior. You know, how excited these wise men must have been to go to their king and say, man, we have made the greatest discovery. But what about us? Year after year, we come back during Advent and Christmas, and we're excited too. That excitement really doesn't fade. It changes as we change, but we're still excited. The excitement can be different. When we're children, our excitement is different from when we're adults. When we're new Christians, it's different from when we become more seasoned Christians. When we're Christians who know a bit about the Bible and become Christians who know a lot more about the Bible and its hope and its faith and its promises, Christmas is different again, because we see that God has loved us enough to give us his Son for our salvation. Wow. There's a wonder and excitement for each kind of Christian, for every one of us. And that's why we're drawn to the star. Now, the second reason we're drawn to the star is because in that star, we discover Jesus. And there's no greater discovery in our lives than that. Yeah? In 1 Peter, the 2nd chapter, verses 9 and 10, we have this wonderful description of you and of me. You are God's chosen people, a chosen race, a royal priesthood, a holy nation, God's own people. Once, it says, you were no people, but now you are God's people. Once, you hadn't received mercy, but now you have received mercy. And so over and over again in Scripture we hear that we're of great value to God. And God shows us mercy, and God shows no partiality. He loves each one of us through and through. Well, and the third reason we're drawn to the star is that we learn we have an important purpose in life. What is it? Back to 1 Peter again. It says, our purpose is to declare the wonderful deeds of him who called you out of darkness into his marvelous light, to be heralds of the good news of what God has done in the birth of Christ, the life of Christ, the death and resurrection of Christ, the very presence of Christ with us. Well, I do have to say at the end of this sermon, I feel sorry for those wise men. I really do. On their way home in their conversation, I wonder what they said. It's a shame. You know, they would miss Christ's teaching God's ways. They wouldn't know his healing touch or observe it. They would miss his great love for each one of us as he dies on the cross. Nor would they rejoice in the stunning drama of his being raised from the dead for us on Easter Day. And they would not experience the sheer joy of being called by him to be his disciples, his men and women, for there is no greater gift for us than to be given the privilege of serving him. And all because we were drawn to that star, because we followed him, because we came to know him as Lord and Savior, one that loves us and is always with us. Let us pray. Lord, we thank you. We thank you for the heart of that story in Matthew's Gospel. It tells us of the arrival, the epiphany of Jesus Christ, and how it's changed our lives forever. We thank you for that gift and its impact. We do it all in his name, in the name of Jesus Christ our Lord. Amen.